Hopefully I wake everybody up a little bit if we're all tired and waiting for the afternoon. But I have interviewed a lot of people in the healthcare sector, but I'm not really going to talk about any of that. And the title of my presentation is From Vision to Reality, and I'm not so sure I'm going to talk about that so much. So I have 12 minutes to talk, so you're presented with an opportunity to speak for 12 minutes. So I say to myself, what is the most relevant thing that I have learned in what I've done in my life? So healthsystemcio.com is the site that I started 3 years ago. Now we have 2 employees. That's going to factor into some of what I'm going to talk about. And when I look at what I've done, and I'm also, important to know is I'm an absolutely voracious, let's say, consumer of information. Audiobooks and regular books. But it's all centered around history and learning about leadership from different political and military figures in history, and also reading philosophy. That was my first major in college, which is why I had a long road before I could get a job. But it all dovetails. So there's a lot going into the head constantly about sort of how to be successful. What have successful people done? And what are some of the common things? So you read a biography on George Washington. You read a biography on Eisenhower. You read Steve Jobs' biography. You take all this stuff in and you stuff it in with some classic literature. I'm just finishing listening to War and Peace, which I could never dream of picking up, but in an audiobook I can absorb it. So I do both. I'm on riding a bike, I listen to the audiobook in the car, these kind of things. So constantly consuming. It's like that's my thing. That's what I do. That's what I enjoy. So I put it all in the kettle and I let it all boil. And I get some stuff out, hopefully some insights out. Now the fun thing about starting a company is that you get to be your own lab. You get to take all these things that you think are the right way, the insightful way, the effective way to do things, and you get to try them out. And that's probably been the most fun. So the point, 12 minutes again, what's the point? The point I want to leave you with today and I want to give to you is that the most important thing from all this stuff and everything I've done is this. You get a handful of opportunities in your life. And whether or not you are able to muster the courage to take advantage of them will define your life. 100% I believe that. You will look back on your life and it will be defined by those opportunities you both took advantage of and those you did not. And what you never want to have happen is you never want to look back on an opportunity and say, I didn't take that because I was afraid. So one of the things that I do, since I've got into reading books on my iPhone, is fantastic because you can really take and sort and filter and pull the information. So I use the iPhone application for iBooks, and now I use Microsoft OneNote, which is on the desktop and everything. And so I'm able to when I'm reading, I'm able to take these things and filter these quotes into sections. So I have topics, wisdom, perseverance, all these kind of things. And then you accumulate, as you read books, you accumulate all these things. And one of the things I realized the other day was, as I was going through my sections, so much of this boils down to fear and dealing with fear. So it's a very interesting concept that overcoming fear is one of the most important things we can do, and it's the fear of taking advantage of an opportunity. And right in that is the fear of change. It's the fear that, I may not like what I have. I may not like what I'm doing. I may despise it. I may tell everyone about it, but at least I know it. I'm used to it, and it's got a few positives, and so I'm used to those. And what if this other thing is worse? It's the fear that the other is probably always going to be worse, as opposed to that it's always going to be better. I think if you're going to go for one of those lines of thinking, you might as well go with that it's always going to be better. So I just want to share maybe 3 instances, tell you 3 stories related to the business about things that happened and where I was able to do that which I wanted to do and that which I felt had to be done I was able to grab the opportunity. So the first one was actually starting the business. It was time to, let's put it politically, right? It was time to move on from my current place of employment. That much was clear. And so I was talking to my wife, and these are things you have to talk to your spouse about, because nobody can do these kind of things. I would phrase it, commit the fortunes of the family without speaking to the wife. You need that sort of green light, go for it. I said, nobody can sit across the dinner table if everything goes in the tank and go, I told you you shouldn't have done that. You can't live in that kind of house. So you need to, you really can't. So you can overcome a lot, but I don't know if that's one of the things you can overcome in terms of overcoming obstacles. So I was talking to her, and I remember, it sounds made up, but this is a true story. We were at a restaurant, and we were talking about everything that was happening. It was on the table, and I was basically like, I think I can do this thing. I know what I want to do. The technology's there. It's a website, and I think I can do this. And I went to the bathroom, and I came back from the bathroom, and she's like, you're not going to believe what just happened. I said, what just happened? She said, at the next table, I overheard a conversation among 3 women. And she said the one was talking about how her husband had wanted to start some sort of business, might have been landscaping or something, wanted to start a business, and he just didn't do it, and he'd always regretted it. So we're at dinner talking about this business, and she just hears this story. So I get sort of my pat on the back and go do it moment. But I was still like, well, maybe a couple of months, maybe, she goes, no, now or never. She says, we're living above my parents. We're not paying any rent. I've got a full-time job. It's now or never. And so I took that and I ran with it. So, and these sort of increase in terms of the fear factor. That was not too difficult. It was everything lined up. Then it would be the opportunity. The next one would be the opportunity to hire the first employee. So I'd worked with a woman named Kate, worked with her at a previous publication, and I always said I always wanted to hire Kate. If I've ever gotten a position to hire Kate, I want to hire Kate. So Kate had moved on to another job that she wasn't, especially thrilled with, and so I had engaged her on sort of a freelance level to do some things with me. And everything was fine. Everything was kind of status quo moving along. I knew where Kate was. I knew she wasn't that happy. I wasn't really ready financially to do anything, but she was there. She was available. One day she emailed me, and she said to me, I'm really not happy. Do you know of any open positions? And that email hit me like a ton of bricks. I was totally frozen. And it's because she was, if I had turned her on to another position, that's it. Kate might be gone forever. She gets that other position, she's happy, gone 10, 15 years. So I went and talked to my wife. She said, what you have to do? And I said, she's going to go. She's not happy. She's going to move on. This is the shot. This is now or never. I felt that window open, and I felt that window was going to close. And I didn't respond to Kate's email, which is unlike me. We, right back and forth. So I just didn't respond. I didn't know what to do. I talked to her. I wanted to do this. So I met with Kate, and we talked. And I threw out the idea, and I said, Kate, what do you think? You think it could work? You think you can come out with me? I think I can do it. You think you can do it? So interestingly enough, Kate had to get the sign-off from her husband, right? Because this is a one-person company. She's quitting a real job to go join a business with one person. So I know he had his concerns. So we decided, what's the best way to have this discussion? So we're going to bring their family over to our family. We're going to talk about this. So we scheduled a barbecue. It was summer, we scheduled a barbecue. And it took like a month because of the scheduling issues, right? I don't like that. That's making me anxious. That's making me apprehensive because I feel the window. And what I want to impart to you more than anything are the feelings that I had as we go through this The feeling of the window being finite. This is an important concept to take away from this. The window is finite, and I knew that. I felt that from everything I'd read, everything my instincts told me. This has to get done now. So scheduling took forever. It was like a month before we had the date that we were going to come up. And as the date approached, we started hearing reports of bad weather, and seriously bad weather. And I'm feeling like fate is going to steal this away from me. It's going to go away. I could see it going away. And so this turned out to be this Saturday this was 2010, Hurricane Irene hit New Jersey. Literally, it's supposed to hit Saturday night. She lives by the shore. She's coming up to northern New Jersey, like a 2-hour ride. So is she going to get home? It's going to get canceled? My wife's like, she's got to cancel. And I said, here's the point. Here's the takeaway. Think about this. I wasn't going to cancel. There's no way I was going to have this on me, on my conscience, because what if I cancel? What if she was going to come? What if she felt the same, we got to get this done, and she was willing to brave the elements to come, and I was the one that preemptively canceled, and I ruined the window, and I blew it. There's no way. I sat there, said, I'm not doing it. If she's coming, she's coming. Got a text, we're not coming. I didn't blame her one bit. Of course she wasn't coming. It was a hurricane. But I really felt like the moment was being stolen away from me. Make a long story short, which I better. It took another month to get the barbecue scheduled. They came up. We talked about everything, the business, the vision. We had a great time. She was our first employee, and she's been on board ever since. I have to leave you now, but I want to leave you with a quote from Shakespeare. And I thought about this. Here's a quick point. If I had to leave my children, I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and if I had to leave them with one bit of information, with one quote, if I was going away or something like that, disappearing, it would be this quote from Shakespeare from Julius Caesar. There's a tide in the affairs of men, which, taken at a flood, leads on to fortune. Omitted, all the days of their lives are bound in the shallows and in miseries. And I believe that 100%. So don't let fear rob you of your opportunities. Thank you.